We started our holiday at the Intercontinental Hotel, which was near Tahiti Airport. Later that day we joined Aranui 3, and shortly after joining, Julie from Germany gave us a rundown on the ship.
Our cabin is excellent, quite substantial, and looking forward from the sitting room area there is a large double bed, television on the left and a dressing table. Our balcony is directly under the wing of the bridge. It is now just after lunch and the pool is pretty empty. And back there, about 18 hours away, is Tahiti.
The ship has a very nice lounge, the reception information area.
The ship shop, which is quite small but has quite a lot of stuff that you want.
Early in the trip we were given a tour of the bridge, then it was on to Takapoto in the Tuamotus.
Just a little stone breakwater, a crack in the reef, and they can obviously get the small barges in behind there with a bit of protection. There we are, boarding on the port side. One boat almost full, one boat waiting to pick Rosemary and myself, and the others up. Once inside, it's all ashore. Our first stop was the Catholic Church. This is the picnic place. And in here is where we're going to have our fish barbecue. Parodies are sitting on the top of the coals. They're nicely cooked. And here comes our first boat. That is our veranda and our cabin door just under the bridge.
At the end of a very pleasant day at Takapoto, we are now underway once again and headed for the Marquesas.
That's a really red sky.
Our landfall in the Marquesas was planned for Uapau, but first Carol would brief us.
1995 and cook, and then there was also a house for the men, where the men would eat separately from the women,
and evening entertainment.
Uapau. We are in Uapau, in the harbour, and Aranui is already offloading her cargo.
Hey,
And after the dancing, there was the feasting. Down to the wharf, on board, and we sail in 45 minutes, I think. Almost a full moon at Hautau Bay of the high mountains. The sun up there on the hills, right at the top, and this will be the last view we have of Tuapau.
Our next island in the Marquesas was Nukuhiva, and I'm now sitting on the waterfront in Taihoe Bay.
Looking east along the seafront, a little bridge. We set off in convoy in a number of four-wheel drives of various sorts, commonly known as jeeps. We've stopped at the first viewing station and now it'll be back into the trucks and up on towards lunch. Well, up at the lookout now, and this is where we're having our lunch. And from here, yet again, we look down onto the bay.
After we left the ship in Taihoe Bay, she finished her unloading before she came round to Taipavai Bay, where she anchored for the night. And on our way down to the embarkation point, we were entertained by the local school children. Not long after, the whale boat arrived, came up the river, and we embarked for the return trip to the ship. By next morning, we'd arrived at Hiva-Oa. The first thing we did in Atuona was to visit the graveyard and the graves of Paul Gauguin and Jacques Brel.
A restaurant where we will have lunch today.
After a brief stop at Tahuata, we went on to Whātauiva and the port of Omoa.
Enjoying the view of the people landing from the whaleboats. They use a front end loader to whip the stuff off the barge and also to drop it back down on. And the barge is loaded with enough gear, out she comes. There, looks like that's good enough for a lift now.
If you don't want to go ashore, or after you've been ashore and you want to cool down, there's always the ship's pool, which was a very pleasant diversion.
This is the Bay of Virgins, and of course it comes from an original name which was the Bay of Penises. There they all stand in a row. The word for one is V-E-R-G-E, and I believe that the missionaries decided to add the I and make it a V-E-I-R-G-E, which is virgin.
Our return visit to Hivaroa gave us the chance to visit Palmau and the nearby Oipona archaeological site.
Everybody has to have their own theory, and so there's a lot of disagreement. First, let me talk about Handycam. Is a big guy. He's 2.43 centimeters high, about 8 feet. It's described as the largest intact Polynesian statue outside of Easter Island.
The next island we visited was Uahuka. But first we had the interesting anchorage in Vaipai Harbour.
Long and narrow it is. The fleet of jeeps, in inverted commas, is loading up. This time we ride inside. The horse riders have arrived before us and tethered their mounts. And this is a great musical welcome to Uahuka.
The following day we returned to Nukuhiva. I have always been impressed in Anaho Bay with what I call the flying buttresses. I believe the correct name for them is tooth. The break in the reef made it easy for the whaleboats to take us ashore to the beach in Anaho Bay, where we were entertained once again with a picnic. On passage to our next unloading position, there was time for us, or those that wanted to visit the engine room.
In Yvonne's, waiting for the lunch. We have a little while to wait. The oven is not open for an hour plus. Beneath the mound of dirt is the oven, and on the barbecues up there we have, believe it or not, lobster. Green at the moment, and in a little while they'll be pink and perfect. Feverish expectation at the opening of the oven. There is the pig. Friday morning, the 1st of July, we're lining up to come up the channel. There's a little pilot boat going ahead of us.
It did not take long before we'd gone alongside our berth and disembarked from Aranui 3 and went on our way with many, many happy memories of our time aboard the freighter to Paradise.